Hi, my name is Ryan Skeen. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of FAU Limited, ASX code FAU. We are a gold and base metals explorer. Our primary projects are located in Victoria, but we've also got big projects in WA where we've got a JORC inferred resource, and then we've got a relatively greenfield project in South Australia in the Olympic Dam province as well.
Brilliant. Ryan, lovely to meet you. Thanks for coming on the show. Where are you at the moment? You're in Oz, presumably, are you?
Yeah, based in Melbourne.
Based in Melbourne, good man. Okay, well, it's the first time we've met or spoken, so I guess we'll just kind of keep this fairly high level for today, and if you come back on, we can maybe get into the weeds a little bit. Tell us a bit about you, though. What's your background and story?
So I've been working in wealth management for a number of years, most recently prior to taking on this role, in equity capital markets, so working with capital raisings, mergers and acquisitions and whatnot in the junior exploration space across a number of commodities, so gold, base metals, rare earths, done a bit of stuff in hydrogen as well. So quite a diverse experience, and particularly in the junior exploration area.
So, and if I'm looking at the board and management team, it's hot and heavy on financial experience and legal background. Not a lot on the exploration side. So, who on the team's helping on that front?
Yeah, look, I think Brian Frost in particular has been around a long time and has been quite involved in some major discoveries in some very large companies. So, De Grey Mining, he was involved in that from the outset. Atlas Iron, he was involved in that from the outset. A number of countries, a number of companies in South Africa and all over the world as well. Rick Revlins too is a business partner of his outside of FAU, and again he's been involved in a lot of companies as well. Michael Knert, non-executive director, he's currently the chairman of Westwits Mining, so they've got some projects in South Africa. So I think whilst it may come across as a lot of financial and a lot of legal sort of background, we've got a lot of industry experience on the board, and we've got a lot of experience in advancing exploration companies.
Right. So I get that, and but they will have been ably supported by a technical team. So who's the sort of technical nous on your side?
Yeah, absolutely. So our chief geologist is Ian Nielsen. So Ian, he oversees a lot of what we do. But he's primarily focused on our Victorian projects and spends a lot of time in the field. Again, he's got very significant experience consulting on projects all over the world. You name a country, he's probably been there and worked on a project there. So he brings a great deal of technical expertise to the company.
Okay.
And then along with that, we've obviously got a number of other consultants that come in and out, but he's primarily our technical guy.
Right. Okay. And let's kind of look at the corporate structure, because I think it's with the company with your market cap, the money's important, and when you're talking about projects, you need to understand your capability to deliver that. So your market cap 10-12 million bucks at the moment. How's the cash situation? I know you did a raise recently, but what's it look like?
Yeah. So our last report end of quarter one, we were at 1.7. Since then, we have commenced a diamond drilling program, which is fairly cash intensive. So, I would expect, over the next 6 months, we're probably going to be in a position where we will need to sort of go back to markets again. We've obviously got another drill program that we're planning currently, coming off the back of the one we're doing at the moment. So we're funded to go through both of those, and then I think it's probably going to be in need of some cash again.
Right. Okay. And I'm guessing at this stage it's predominantly retail, but how much does the management team have and own?
Yeah, board and management have got about 12% of the company from my last count.
Right. Okay. And any institutional in there?
Not particularly. It's fairly, I think there's a lot of, high net worth guys, but no funds, no big instos at this stage.
Okay, so nothing unusual really then. Well, let's talk about the three projects, okay? Maybe Should we talk about? Should we kind of park up South Australia and sort of, and then work our way through to the kind of flagship projects? So South Australia and Western Australia, where are you with those two?
Yeah, so South Australia is a project. So it was new ground. So we pegged it approximately 18 months ago, off the top of my head. It was off the back of a South Australian government incentive. So basically, the South Australian government's really trying to get exploration activity increasing in their state, and they ran what's called the Gawler Challenge. So the Gawler Craton is a huge, province in the state. It was a cash prize of 250 grand, and Geo that does some work for us, he identified that the ground that we've got was identified as the priority target for both the winner and the runner-up of the challenge. So that's how that came about. We're still at the native title agreement stage of the project, so we're still a few months at least off being able to get on the ground and do some works. But we have done a little bit of desktop work, and we believe that the project's got plenty of upside, but it is still quite new, and not a great deal of work has been done on it just yet.
Right, so that's part. And then Western Australia, in Kalgoorlie, there is a joke resource on it, but it's small. What happened there, and how have you picked that up?
So that project was put into the company when the company actually listed. So it's been around for quite some time. We've done a number of drill campaigns on it. Yes, it's at 120,000 ounces inferred. We're actually doing a little bit of work at the moment in the background in looking to advance the project. So it's next door to another known deposit owned by Horizon Minerals, I think it's Minerals or whatever it's called. Their Teal deposit. So we think that the area in which we're in, we think there's an economic deposit there. It's just a matter of where that goes. We're doing some met work, which we mentioned in our last quarterly at the moment. Hopefully trying to prove up that we can extract the gold at get good recovery rates that are economical. One of the issues is that it is refractory, and that it has been a bit of a challenge in the area because there are a limited number of mills that can process it. And again, that's sort of something that we're trying to work towards addressing with, potentially a bigger goal in mind.
Right, but it sounds like one, it's in Western Australia, not over Euro based. Is that maybe something that you could partner with Horizon on or others on? I mean, because otherwise you plow a bit of money into it, don't you? I mean, it's
absolutely. Horizon or others, we're not really too fussed as to what way that goes. We're certainly open to, speaking to other partners. We're certainly, something we're actively pursuing as well. And we hope to have something over the next month or two in terms of where that project is going to go with a more definitive outlook, because at the moment it is sitting in limbo to a degree, and it's kind of like, well, what are you guys doing with it? And it's not our priority, but it's certainly something we're looking to do with rather than just let it sit there and do nothing.
Okay, great. Okay, so it was kind of fit for purpose when you kind of first started, but you found something better over in Victoria. So let's talk about that. This is copper gold, both very very topical at the moment with regards to pricing certainly. So tell us about the project, and then maybe we can kind of get into how you're coming at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got quite a significant footprint. So we've got over 2,200 square kilometres. And the project, or the genesis of the project, is actually our chief geo, Ian Nielsen. So, he's not on the board, but Ian also has quite a stake in the company. He has, I think, roughly 2 or 3%. Plus, he owns 20% of the subsidiary that has our Victorian project. So he's very invested in the success of the project. He put it all together, or pegged a lot of the ground in 2018, and the project came into the company, or he might have been a little bit earlier than that. Then it came into the company 2019, 2020. Primarily, we're exploring for gold there, or most of the projects or the tenements are focused on gold, but we are currently drilling a porphyry copper target as well. And it's a lot of it goes back, what brought us to the areas. There's a number of factors, but going back to the 1850s through to the early 1900s, some really high grade stuff was pulled out of the grounds there. So we're talking about 15 to 30 grams per tonne. And just as a comparison, in Victoria, we've got two of the highest grade mines in the world, in Fosterville and Costerfield, bit of a tongue twister. And I think Fosterville's around that 20 gram per tonne mark, and Costerfield's around that 10 gram per tonne mark. So, we're looking for high grade stuff. I'm not suggesting we're going to sort of get those grades, but we're certainly in an area where we're looking for that sort of stuff.
Right. So we've talked about the money side of things. So that's the focus. Victoria's the focus. How do you go about taking this forward in the current environment, right? It's very difficult times. Over the last couple of months, it's been a bit tricky, and perhaps we won't see too much change on that front until August or so. But the expectation is that. What advice would you give yourself? Come on, you're on the street. You're a finance guy. What advice would you give to your company about how you move this forward? You've got a little bit of money now. You're going to have to go and raise some money. It's going to be expensive money in the sense that the equities aren't doing what you need them to do at the moment. So what's the best approach?
Well, I think it's that whole risk versus return view on it all, that we need to be smart about the way that we're allocating money, and allocating it to high priority projects that are going to deliver us returns, or potentially going to deliver us or results in this instance. That making sure that we're trying to reduce the risk of any drill programs we take as much as possible. That we're smart about the way that we go and drill projects, that we're not overcommitting ourselves and going, we're going to drill 2,000, 3,000 meters no matter what. Having taking the approach of if we get 1,000 meters into it and we're not seeing what we want, bang, we're done. We're moving on to the next thing. And I think that we just have to be active in the way that we're thinking about and approaching our, particularly drilling, because that's where, your biggest expenditure is.
So, and what type of drilling is it? I mean, is it shallow, deep? I don't actually understand the area that well.
Yeah. So a lot of the drilling we're doing is diamond to start with. That's, if you were to talk about cost, it is the most costly type of drilling. In terms of depths, we're not necessarily drilling 600 meters hole. It does vary quite a bit. So we might do some holes to 100, some to 250, but we generally at this stage aren't going too much more than that. And a lot of that's got to do with, we're in quite an alpine mountainous region. And listening to the way it's sort of explained to me from our technical guys, that it's not like we're drilling in a flat surface and having to go 700 meters below the surface, because we're coming at it from on mountains or the top or hills. We can sort of drill from the bottom of the hill and go down 150 meters from there and get good depth, or effectively good depth in our drilling.
Right. Okay. So again, coming back to there's, I know there's some drilling at Dogwood, the program's initiated there, but what do you think you need to put out to the market? Because for juniors, it's a dance, right? You've got to put out the headlines, which attracts the retail guys, but you also got to do some good work to help your geos understand how you then go about the rest of the drill program. So the high grade gold numbers help, but what's your expectation from this drill program as to what it's going to do for you? Especially, and I keep coming back to this, in the current market where perhaps people are risk off and a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I think, again, you bang on that it's always about trying to balance the need of going, investors or the market always wants to see intersections. They want to see high grade bonanza intersections against what the geos need to know or want to know so that they can advance a project. So I think it's, in terms of us, and a specific example at Dogwood at the moment is, we're certainly hoping that we can deliver some good intersections. And, based off the historical work that was done in 93, 94 by CRA, which is now Rio Tinto, we're somewhat confident that we're going to get something quite decent. But also at the same time, I think that, if you were to ask me what's success from a geological perspective, it's being able to confirm that, yes, we do have a copper porphyry. I think that, right now we think we do. But if we can walk away from this drill program with a much higher degree of confidence that, yes, we're sitting on a porphyry copper system here, I think that that's really quite significant in terms of where that project goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. So, the CRA stuff is done sort of 93, 94, right? So it's historic, but, and you can't use it. But so what do you do? Do you do confirmatory drilling? Do you do small step out drilling, twinning or whatever? Or do you say, well, tell you what, we'll have some leap of faith in terms of the historic data and we'll add our own data, because I think you were talking about 2,000 meters, maybe 17 holes or so, and say, well, actually, that's going to be a better use of our capital, give us a sense of is it a porphyry and the scale of the opportunity in front of us? So again, it's doing a dance, but how do you come out?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both in terms of we're not twinning, we're twinning the location of the holes or some of the holes, but certainly not all of them. We've actually been very fortunate that we've been in contact with the geo that led the last campaign with CRA in 93, 94, and we've been able to gather some pretty good insights from him. But, a great example is a hole that they previously drilled that ended in mineralisation. Yes, of course, we're going to drill that same hole in terms of the location, but we're certainly not looking to go to the same depth and stop. We want to extend on that and we want to see what's beneath it. I think that broadly applies across the better holes that they did, is that, the historical info from CRA said that, they believed that they were in the top of the porphyry, but it was never confirmed. So obviously we want to go below that and see if we can confirm it, right? And then on top of that as well, obviously our geologists bring, new insights, modern skills, modern technology to the table and go, okay, cool, all this is good, but we also want to do some exploration holes on top of that because we've got some other theories as well. So not twinning any holes identically. We're looking to sort of extend on some, but then do some of our own stuff as well, because we've got our own, views on what's going on there.
Right. Okay. So, and I think it's 17 holes. It's actually 14 holes, isn't it? So, right. So, and what's the time frame there? When will you have finished all that drilling?
We were hoping around 2 months.
Okay.
We will see how that goes. Drill programs often, have little hiccups along the way, particularly as we're coming into the winter months and, the weather can become a bit of a challenge. But, we're confident that we should be done with the drilling by the end of June to early July. Along the way, again, trying to balance off the market factor against the geology and, what our longer term goals are. We'll be looking to, get some core into the labs over the next few weeks and get some interim results out there too, so that we can provide investors with some insight as to what we're doing.
Okay, so so how are things actually on the ground? Because this is so is this drig operated by your own team, or have you got someone doing that for you?
Drilling contractors.
Contractors, okay. I mean, how are things on the ground generally in terms of, because we've been hearing the last 6 months, last year, about supply chains and, being able to recruit people. But I guess if it's supply contractors, that's their problem, not yours. But have you been impacted at all?
Not in this drill program, certainly not in this drill program to date. We've been, they've been pretty good. They've been very, flexible with us. They've been the drilling company. They've been great to work with to date. So no issues with that at this point in time. Can't promise that won't change, but to date, there's no indications that is going to be a problem.
Right, and you said, so you did mention it, but I didn't get a sense of the timing around. With regards to the assays, you think they'll be ready? You'll have got the assays back and had time to look at them. And when would you be talking to the market?
Interim assays, I would say in June.
June, okay.
And then final assays, I suspect will be more end of July, once the whole program's wrapped up, probably even pushing out into early August.
Right, and so that we could expect that will be the time that you go to market and look to raise some more capital for the next drill program. Would that be about right?
We'll have to see about that. I think there's a number of factors with that, so we'll wait and see around the timing of that. I don't have the answer to that right now.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think, just as a kind of first run through what you're chasing, that is kind of interesting to me, and also, your plans for the other two projects, which are kind of sort of outliers, as it were. Australian market, like everywhere in the world, a little bit tough. What's your advice to retail investors with regards to how they should look at your project or other projects? Because it seems to me, actually, this risk-off thing is prevalent at the moment. Do you think it should be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the junior exploration part of the world, I think obviously it's well known we're in a commodity super cycle. There's a lot of talk that we are. I think that it's still an area of the market that you can find, value is not the right word, but I think good risk-reward trade-offs. And I think that if you can identify good companies with good projects, that are in a position to fund the works that they want to do, I absolutely think that there's still returns to be made. There's still, money out there to be made. So I think maybe, it's probably not as easy as it was, say, 6 months ago, and you probably need to have a bit more patience, probably need to do a bit more work, ask a few more questions. But I certainly still think that, a company like First AU, for example, that, to some degree our downside's limited. We've got plenty of upside if we can have some success in our exploration programs. And, even if the market's not going great, I still think there's potential that our share price could, pop 50%, pop 100% with any luck. And, that's the sort of way that at least the way that I approach my investing, particularly in this space.